There's Mr. Mandela, Mr. Nelson Mandela, a free man taking his first steps into a new South Africa. Mrs. Winnie Mandela next to him, waving to the crowds, hand in hand. They leave the Victor Verster prison.
Was this a heroic act, or was it the inevitable happening? One thing for sure, though, it's a highlight in the country's history books.
The steps that have been decided are the following: the prohibition of the African National Congress, the Pan-Africanist Congress, the South African Communist Party, and a number of subsidiary organizations is being rescinded.
FW de Klerk's carefully crafted speech did not even have the word racism or any direct admission that apartheid was a crime against humanity. But it was instead a curtain raiser to a negotiated settlement that would end white supremacy. And then the most important announcement came right at the end of his long speech: the release of Nelson Mandela.
I wish to put it plainly that the government has taken a firm decision to release Mr. Mandela unconditionally. I am serious about bringing this matter to finality without delay. The government will take a decision soon on the date of his release.
With the banning of the ANC under apartheid, many other ways were formed to challenge a government seen by many as illegitimate and unjust. But the ANC became the face of the liberation to freedom, with other movements that were formed rallying behind the party. The debate is open on de Klerk's legacy, but the post-apartheid ANC that's been governing for 25 years says de Klerk's move was courageous, but he did not have many options.
I don't think there's anything wrong with saying it was a courageous step, but it was courage that was forced on him. They wouldn't have done it if there wasn't this enormous pressure, both inside and outside, because up to that point, they could have done it if they wanted to, but they didn't. You know, they hung on to power up to the point when they could no longer hang on to power.
Director of Research at ASRI, Angelo Fick, says there weren't too many ways out of South Africa's turbulent time. He says the speech from 30 years ago was mostly informed by what was happening at the time.
The way of the 1980s couldn't be sustained into the 1990s. The South African economy was in trouble. The South African political stability was in trouble. Violence was, far more kind of rife than it had been in the 1970s. And they were no longer confined to the townships or to the neighboring states. They were entering the mainstream of suburban life.
That is the picture that will go down in history.
South Africa is on its way to 26 years of democracy. While a lot has been achieved, there are new struggles in post-apartheid South Africa.
The struggle now is opening this economy, deracializing it, and that's so critical. But not only deracializing it in our own borders, internationally, there has to be a way we can get the international community to accept that the majority of the people in South Africa are black people. And therefore, the majority of the people who should own the means of production are black people.
Angelo Fick says, while hope was restored 30 years ago for the majority of South Africans who suffered under apartheid, the country is yet to see positive and tangible achievements that will bring economic freedom.
It was hope amid great despair. It was not just hope that said, the light has gone on in the room. The announcement of Nelson Mandela's imminent release was one step on a road of hope that had no guarantees at the moment of announcement that we would be where we are 30 years from now. Much has gone wrong in the 30 years since that moment for the South African polity. Otherwise, we wouldn't be the most unequal society in the world. Parents wouldn't have to collect the bodies of their dead children from schools. Illiteracy wouldn't be where it is. Femicide and rape statistics wouldn't be where they are.
Ntlantla Kgatlhane, SABC News, Johannesburg.